Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. The 3D printing world is heating up again. Bambu Lab recently announced their upcoming H2C printer with the Vortek nozzle swapping system. And it's got me wondering, can nozzle swapping really compete with full tool changing printers like the Prusa XL or the upcoming Snapmaker U1? Today, I want to break it down and get your thoughts because I think it could be a pretty big shift in how we think about multi-material printing. Let's discuss it. So here's the situation. Traditionally, if you wanted to print in multiple colors or materials, you had a few options. Use something like Bambu's AMS or Prusa's MMU, where you load multiple spools into a system that feeds a single nozzle. Or go all out with a tool changer, where each tool head has its own extruder and nozzle. Now, Bambu is taking a different approach with the H2C. Instead of swapping the entire tool head, their new Vortek system just swaps the nozzle, or more accurately, the entire hot end, while keeping a single extruder and filament path. Here's how it works. The Vortek H2C has a bank of hot ends that can swap in and out automatically. Each hot end has its own nozzle and even its own little wireless chip and inductive heating system. That way, there are no wires to plug in and no thermistor cables running everywhere. When you need to switch colors, the printer cuts and retracts the old filament back into the AMS, swaps in the correct hot end, loads new filament into the extruder, and induction heats it up, which Bambu claims takes around 8 seconds. It's a pretty slick idea, and compared to the AMS alone, it could mean less purge waste since each nozzle keeps its filament dirty inside instead of having to flush out one shared nozzle every time. Now let's contrast that with something like the Prusa XL or the Snapmaker U1. These machines take a more traditional tool changer approach. Each tool head is completely independent, its own extruder, filament path, and nozzle. So if you want 5 colors or materials, you install 5 full tool heads, or 4 in the U1's case. When you switch tools, the printer parks one, grabs the other, heats it up, and keeps going. The advantage here is that you don't need to cut and reload filament into a single extruder. Each material is always ready to go with its own dedicated path. That makes tool changers especially attractive for multi-material printing. Supports insoluble filament, flexible TPU parts alongside rigid PLA, or even abrasive components. Each tool can be optimized for its specific job. Although we don't currently have a machine in production featuring Bondtech's INDX system, there exists a potential for an even larger number of hot ends with independent filament paths. Before we dive into a comparison between the two systems, let's take a moment to hear about today's sponsor, PCBWay.
PCBWay has a whole host of specials going on in the month of September. Ever wanted to print something in TPU but didn't want to deal with the hassles? Well, through the end of the month, they are running a special where the more you print, the more you save. Prints over 64 grams get an incredible 80% off. Or maybe you're designing your own PCB and you don't want that standard green look. Through the end of September, you can choose a purple solder mask at no extra cost. And PCBWay is running their 8th design contest with cash prizes up to $1,500. Head on over to PCBWay.com to see all that they have to offer.
So where does nozzle swapping really stack up against full tool changing? Let's break it down. First, waste and purging. Vortek, much less waste than AMS-only printing since each nozzle keeps its color. But because it still relies on the AMS to load filaments, you'll always have that cut and retract step. Tool changers, even lower waste since each tool is dedicated. But you may still need wiping or priming when switching. Next, we'll talk about the speed of switching. Vortek. Every swap means retracting old filament, loading new, then heating a fresh hot end. That adds overhead, though Bambu says the heating part is quick. This really seems to be the Achilles heel of this system, but I'd like to take a moment to talk about potential solutions. Currently, the AMS and the AMS2 Pro only have a single filament path from the back of the AMS to the printer. The AMS Lite has 4 paths, and there is a hub at the tool head. Here, we have the Anycubic Cobra S1 with their Anycubic color engine. Unlike the Bambu AMS, this device has 4 filament paths and the hub is on the back of the printer. Were Bambu to do something like this, it would reduce the filament path significantly. While it wouldn't completely eliminate the time to retract and load filaments, it could cut it by a decent amount. Now, tool changers, they're going to be faster in some cases because each filament path is always ready, but docking and grabbing tools takes time too. Now let's address reliability and complexity. Vortek, wireless chips, induction heating, mechanical couplers. It's cutting edge, but there's also more to go wrong. Plus, AMS reliability becomes crucial. Whereas tool changers, they're expensive as you scale up. A 5-tool Prusa XL is not a budget machine, but in contrast, the current Kickstarter price of the U1 is incredibly low. Now, let's talk about materials. Vortek, still limited by what the AMS can reliably handle. Flexible filaments and abrasives are tricky. Whereas for tool changers, each tool can be tuned for a specific material. So it's going to be better for people mixing flexibles, soluble supports, or carbon fiber filled filaments. So here's my take. If Bambu pulls this off, the H2C with the Vortek system could be an interesting machine. It would have a lower waste than those with the AMS alone. It's a lower cost than some full tool head changers, but the H2 line is more toward the upper end of the cost bracket for consumer 3D printers. It would still be flexible enough for multicolor or multi-material work with some limitations as previously mentioned. But it all hinges on execution. If filament loading from the AMS is slow or unreliable, or if wireless hot ends wear out over time, then tool changers will still have the edge. And for people who need absolute reliability across many materials, the Prusa XL or Snapmaker U1 may still be the safer bet. And of course, INDX might just eclipse them all. But that's just me. What I really want to know is, what do you think? Would you rather have a nozzle swapping system that's cheaper and waste efficient, even if it depends on an AMS? Or do you prefer a tool changer with full independence for each filament path, even if it's bulkier and more expensive? And most importantly, what price point would make the H2C competitive in your eyes? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I think the 3D printing community is going to be split on this one. If you found this breakdown useful, give it a like so more makers can join the discussion. Subscribe if you want to stay up to date on where 3D printing is headed next, and I'll see you in the comments to debate nozzle swapping versus tool changing. As always, I enjoy the time we get to spend together here on the channel. Let's keep on learning, burning, printing, and growing together. Take care, everyone.